Have you ever wondered what really happens when the women in your life talk about you behind closed doors? Especially your wife's mother. Gentlemen, I'm about to lift the veil on what a mother-in-law really thinks when her phone rings at midnight and her son-in-law's name pops up on the screen. What would you do if your wife's mother found out secrets about you that could destroy everything you've built? What would you be willing to do to keep her quiet? I never expected to find myself caught up in this high-stakes game with the men who married my daughters. But in Las Vegas, we know better than most. Any relationship is a gamble, and sometimes the house doesn't win. My name is Diane Mercer. I am 55 years old, divorced, and have lived in Las Vegas for almost 3 decades. I came here at 26 chasing my waitressing dream, and somehow ended up as a VIP account manager at one of the biggest casinos on the Strip. I've seen it all. Whales making millions without blinking an eye, celebrities at their worst, marriages made and broken over a single hand of cards. But nothing prepared me for the complex game I would play with my sons-in-law. I raised my girls, Melissa and Jennifer, as a single mom after their father decided family life was less appealing than his 22-year-old secretary. We lived in a modest apartment near the Strip, far enough away from the tourist chaos, but close enough that I could get to work in 15 minutes. The girls grew up with the understanding that in Vegas, looks are currency, and everyone has an angle. I taught them to see through the glitz, to realize that behind every neon promise lies a carefully calculated hoss. What I didn't teach them was to choose men who wouldn't try to play against their own mother. Melissa met Ryan at the University of Southern California. He was studying business with an emphasis in hospitality management, a smart choice in this town. Handsome, articulate, ambitious. I was initially impressed. He talked about revolutionizing casino loyalty programs, understanding the psychology of high rollers. My daughter was blown away, and I was cautiously optimistic. Jennifer's husband came along later. She met Michael at my casino. He wasn't gambling, but installing a new security system. A technical genius with a quiet confidence. He could talk about surveillance systems and facial recognition technology in a way that wasn't boring. Jennifer, who was always drawn to analytical types, got engaged to him 8 months later. The double wedding was my idea. Why not save money and have a spectacular celebration? The girls agreed, and we held it at my casino, an advantage of my position. The ceremony was beautiful, overlooking the Strip as the sun set and the lights began their nightly electric dance across the valley. That night, as I watched my daughters dance with their new husbands, I experienced that rare feeling for Vegas, like I had truly won the establishment. My girls have found good men with solid careers in a city where stability is as rare as straight flush. I was wrong, very wrong. The first call came 3 months after the wedding. My phone rang at 11:43 p.m., nothing unusual for my job. VIPs work unusual hours, but it wasn't work. It was Ryan. "Diane," he said, his voice strained. "I need your help." Ryan was gambling. Not at tourist traps, but at the underground poker places the locals know about, where buy-ins start at $10,000 and the players don't like to accept debts. He lost $30,000, and the people he owed were not patient. "Melissa can't know," he insisted. "It was a one-time thing. It was unlucky. I was gambling with a business development fund. I should have told my daughter immediately. Instead, I helped him. I had connections, made some calls, negotiated a payment plan. Ryan was family now, and in Vegas, family problems stay within the family. I'll pay you back," he promised. Every dime. But he never did. Michael's first midnight call came 2 months later. His situation was different, but just as troubling. He had been offered a part-time job installing private surveillance equipment for a client who wanted to keep tabs on his wife. It paid very well, but Michael discovered that the client was actually monitoring his wife's movements in order to build a case and take her children away from her. "I want out," Michael told me, "but this guy has connections in my company. If I say no now, I could lose everything." Once again, I stepped in. Using my connections in the casino, I found enough dirt on the client to allow Michael to walk away without loss. Once again, I kept it from Jennifer. "She doesn't need to know how close I came to stepping over the line," Michael said. "I made a mistake. It won't happen again." But it had happened, for both of them. Ryan's late-night calls became about covering gambling debts, then business investments that required quick money, then glossing over his affairs. Michael's calls turned from ethical dilemmas to technical favors. He used casino connections to gain access to information he shouldn't have, helped friends bypass security systems, looked the other way when some clients needed privacy. I became their secret keeper, their fixer, their Vegas fairy godmother who could make problems disappear at the wave of my well-connected wand. All to protect my daughters from the truth about the men they married. The irony never left me. In a city built on secrets and calculated risk, I had become the edge in my sons-in-law's dangerous games. They counted on my silence, on my love for my daughters being stronger than my disapproval of their actions. They were right until they were wrong. The turning point came last Thanksgiving. We were all at my house, the normal house I had finally purchased in Summerlin, away from the constant noise of the casino. The girls were in the kitchen laughing about something. Ryan and Michael were on the patio drinking my expensive bourbon and talking in low voices. I overheard them as I approached with a plate of appetizers. "She suspects something," Ryan was saying. "I told her the money was going to pay her mother's medical bills." Michael laughed. "That's a good thing." "I told Jan I was helping Diane with legal problems at work." "Tax stuff." "How long do you think we can use her as an excuse?" Ryan shook his drink. "The old lady is useful, but eventually the girls can settle the score." "We'll have enough money by then. My crypto investments are finally paying off. Another year, maybe 2. And if Deanne ever threatens to talk..." Michael's voice dropped even lower. "She won't talk. She's too caught up in being the perfect mother. Besides, who's going to believe her and not us? We're responsible sons-in-law taking care of business while she works with degenerates all day." I froze in place, the appetizer plate trembling in my hands. At that moment I realized I'd been played, expertly, patiently, by 2 men who understood the odds and angles better than I trusted them. They had turned me into their unwitting accomplice, their alibi, their mark. To put it in Vegas terms, I was a whale they'd carefully cultivated, capitalizing on my connections and my silence. I set my plate down on the side table and walked away without them noticing. Inside myself, I watched my daughters, these smart, capable women I'd raised, laughing together, oblivious to the fact that they had married men who had long cheated their own family. That evening, after everyone had left, I sat down at the kitchen table with a glass of wine and did what I should have done years ago. I made a list of all the favors, all the cover-ups, all the lies I had helped support. I noted dates, amounts, specific requests. By dawn, I had compiled an exhaustive account of my son-in-law's manipulations. Then I did what any good operator in Vegas would do. I created leverage. I didn't confront them immediately. Instead, I started my own cautious game. I installed a recording app on my phone to document their late-night calls. I saved texts and emails. I talked to some people I knew at the casino about some technical favors Michael had asked for, presenting it as a security check. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I invited both men to meet for lunch at a quiet restaurant near the Strip. No wives, I insisted, just mothers-in-law wanting to pamper their sons-in-law. They came in looking confident, exchanging knowing glances when they thought I wasn't watching them. We ordered drinks, making small talk about vacation plans. Then I placed a USB drive on the table between us. "What's this?" asked Ryan, reaching for it. I put my hand on top of his. "Insurance," I answered simply. "Everything. Every call, every favor, every lie you've told my daughters while using my name as a cover." The expressions on their faces changed so quickly it was almost comical, from confusion to disbelief to carefully contained anger. "That won't be necessary, Diana," Michael said calmly. "We've always appreciated your help. We're family." "Family doesn't use family," I replied. "And that's exactly what you both did, both for me and for my daughters." Ryan leaned forward, his business-like smile in place. "Look, I think it was a misunderstanding. Sure, we had some unpleasant moments, but stop it." My voice was low and steady. "I've worked in Vegas casinos for almost 30 years. I know when they're trying to screw me over. The game ends tonight." I laid out my terms. They will confess to my daughters not everything, but enough. They will begin marriage counseling. They will stop using me as an enabler and an excuse. And they will start being the men my daughters deserve. "And if we say no?" asked Michael, his technical mind already calculating alternatives. I smiled that smile I save for high rollers who have exhausted their credit limit. "Then I'll go to my daughters with everything. And believe me, I have everything. The choice is yours, but choose carefully. In Vegas, the house always has the upper hand. Tonight, gentlemen, I am the house." They agreed, of course. People like Ryan and Michael always protect their investments. For 6 months now, they've been following my terms. The late-night calls have stopped. The mysterious financial emergencies have stopped. According to my daughters, who believe it was their husband's idea, a proactive move to strengthen their relationship, marriage counseling really works. Of course, I still have a USB drive and backups in a few safe places. You never play in Vegas without insurance. Last week, Ryan called me at a convenient time to ask for advice on a legitimate business opportunity. Michael stopped by with flowers on my birthday and stayed for coffee without checking his watch every 5 minutes. Small but meaningful steps. I don't know if they've really changed or if they're just playing more cautiously and for longer now. But I do know one thing. They realize that I'm watching them, that I'm no longer the easy prey they thought I was. My daughters seem happier, more secure. They talk about future plans with genuine enthusiasm. Whether their husbands deserve it remains to be seen, but I've done my best to level the playing field. So, gentlemen, if you are still listening to my story, let me tell you this. The mothers of the women you love are not as malleable as you think. We've played our own games, taken our own risks, and learned to recognize a bluff in a crowded room. And if you call your mother-in-law at midnight with urgings and convenient lies, remember, in this particular casino of life, she may just be counting cards, and you're still learning the rules of the game. Vegas taught me that any relationship is a gamble, but it also taught me that sometimes you have to be willing to risk everything for one single bold move to change the odds in your favor. My daughters are worth that risk, and now they're husked.